And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Late Night Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, and while I'm tempted, I will not sit here and boo the entire show. I will actually use words, and I will actually converse with my co-host, Harrison Fagan. Are you going to try to boo the whole show?
Boo! You suck. That was the worst intro ever.
All right, well, I'm going to get subbed out, and then you can start cheering again. How about that?
Well, it depends on who you're getting subbed out for.
All right. I don't know. Simmons. Simmons is right behind me. He is
I'm
actually.
sorry. I like you. I'd take that trade.
Right. Well, I'm saying Byron has been running the rotations here on our podcast, and Simmons he hasn't been dressed all season, very much like Tarik Black, who is a much better alternative to the current host. Bill Simmons has not been dressed all year and will not have the opportunity. He is not dressed again tonight. Byron said that he doesn't need to get ready for these games.
We sent him down to the D League.
I actually wanted to start. All right, the game was really boring. The Hornets played without Nicholas Batum. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist did come back tonight and was fantastic. But the Lakers lose by 29 points in a game where their opponent shot 37%. You cannot make that up. We can use the hashtag didn't lose by 50, but had the Hornets shot the ball even decently well, they probably would have lost by that amount. So obviously, I thought the biggest note to take away from the game was the fans. The fans are sick of it, and it's a fan base that understands that tanking, helps them potentially get better, even though I disagree.
Well, are you sure that the fans at Staples are the ones that are pushing the tank? I don't know about that.
Well, I just think it's interesting. I don't recall much as much booing, either as loud as it was tonight and as directive as it was tonight. I thought it was unfair to boo Ryan Kelly, and it's not because I think I'm a huge Ryan Kelly fan. I don't think he's very good at, I don't think he belongs in the NBA. I don't think the Lakers have a proper role they can really use him in. But taking frustrations
I think that there's
out,
a context where he can be like an okay bench player in the NBA, but it's not the one in which he's currently being used.
Well, what I just outright disagree with is, like, I had back-to-back tweets where I said that it wasn't fair that Ryan Kelly was getting booed and then cheered when he came off the court. And then I wanted, in the very next tweet, I said that Byron should, if you really want to start a chant, start a fire, Byron, that kind of thing. That would have been fun. And that might actually accomplish something.
There was actually someone who, I know there was someone in the crowd that tried to start it and it didn't happen.
That's unfortunate. Lakers fans remain idiots.
I saw one of our contributors who does the credits post sometimes tweeting that he had started it. He tried to start the chant and it didn't happen.
Yeah, here's the thing. Everything is relative. Like that's one of my top lessons that I always try to teach, is that everything is relative. So Ryan Kelly should have almost zero expectations going into any given season because he hasn't shown anything and because he doesn't have any real responsibility. There were 3 players ahead of him in the rotation who all should be playing, considerably more and given considerably more responsibility in any given game than Ryan Kelly. The flip side of that is that Byron Scott,
one of them was in a suit tonight, not playing.
Yeah, and the flip side to that, and the reason I'm perfectly fine with fire Byron cheats or booing Byron, is Byron has a bunch of responsibility, and he has jobs that he needs to do, checks or parts of a list that he has to check off, but he hasn't so far this year, and he hasn't come close. It's like the stat tonight that was going around was how opposing teams are shooting really well from three-point range against them, and how often teams are making three-point shots against the Lakers. That hasn't changed all season. They haven't improved.
Well, it's really easy to see why if you watch them. They just give up threes. It's almost like I forget who said it, but it's almost like they don't think that threes are a modern part of the NBA.
And it's ridiculous.
That's how they play on defense. They concede them.
Mm-hmm. And you know, in that respect, if you're going to go through a checklist of things that Byron should have accomplished or should be that need to be happening this year, it should be developing the kids. It should be, you know, remaining competitive. They haven't even tonight. They weren't even competitive against. It's not like they were playing the Warriors tonight. It's not like they were playing.
And Kobe actually had a decent game on offense, and they weren't competitive.
Yeah,
a lot of these games when they've gotten blown out, it's because Kobe's completely shot them out of it. But he was actually like decently effective on that end tonight.
Especially because he started slow and he shot the ball, you know, a lot well as the game went on, or a lot better as the game went on. I guess if you're equating Byron Scott and Ryan Kelly, I have no idea where to even start a conversation with you.
Yeah, there are different levels of responsibility and importance that those two have to the team. Ryan Kelly is what would you say, the 13th or 14th man?
Yeah, he's somebody
versus the head coach. There's a slight difference there, I think.
I'll put it this way. If we look back a decade from now, I guarantee you more people will remember that Byron Scott coached the team than Ryan Kelly played on the team. You know, and if you're equating the two guys, I don't know. I'm sorry. But the other thing that I wanted to take from it, you know, from the booing and the frustration that's out there is that Jeanie Buss went on a radio show this past week, I believe on AM 570. I think it was with Petros and Money. I might have that wrong. But anyway, she was on the radio this week, and she kept repeating how it's really frustrating. Trust me, it's frustrating for us. It's as frustrating for us as it is for the fans. And the difference here, Jeanie, is that fans can't do a damn thing about it. Fans can't, like, there's nothing a fan can do. We can record this podcast and we can come here, we can scream all we want about how terrible the Lakers are and how they aren't improving and how this should somewhat fall on the coach. But at the end of the day, nothing's actually going to happen, right? Whereas if Jeannie's frustrated, she could walk down into the offices, or she could have a conversation with Jim, and they can figure out, all right, we're frustrated. We need to make some kind of change here. The fans, they keep on getting louder with their frustration. At some point, something needs to happen, and nothing's happening. So what did you hear the quotes? And if you did hear them, did you take them the same way as I am?
I don't know that I take them exactly the same way, because while she is, I think she's the one she's in charge of the whole organization. But she's been pretty hands-off with basketball operations and leaving that to Jim, even though theoretically she could, I think, with the way that the power is structured, to make a decision on that end. She's pretty much left that to Jim and Mitch. And so while she does have the power to go down there and change something, it doesn't seem like she's actually going to. I think she's going to kind of let them do things their way. And for better or worse, in this case, it's, I think, definitely proving to be worse. They've been very hands-off with the coaching staff.
Right. Well, I guess
it took until the second half of last year for them to tell him to start playing Jordan Clarkson when he was the only young player on the team.
And he was probably for considerable stretches the best player on the team last year.
Yeah.
I would say this, and again, I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but if she said we're frustrated, that means, you know, it'd be one thing if she said I'm as frustrated as the fans. And if she did say that and she can't do as much, or she doesn't, from her position, want to do much about it on the basketball side, all right, fine. But if she says we're frustrated and she's speaking for the entire organization and saying that they are all frustrated, Jeanie, Lakers, you guys can do something about this. If they fire Byron tomorrow, I would guarantee you there would be a sense of optimism that hasn't been there at any point this season. Even if it isn't to immediately hire Tom Thibodeau, even if it isn't to try and make something happen with the Warriors and be able to talk to Luke Walton, even though, you know, they would have to get permission, and there's no way the Warriors would give permission midseason, right?
No, they're not gonna be able to hire Luke Walton, or I don't even think that I think Tibbs has announced. I saw a report that he's just taking the year off at this point.
Right.
I
Well,
don't
what I
think
mean
he
though
wants
is
to do the George Karl thing with it he did last year, where you just come in for the last 30 games. I think he probably wants a fresh training camp.
right. Well, what I mean though is that even if nobody is brought on and it's just an interim coach that is just given, that they say, hey, look, you're in charge for the second half of the season here. Your job is just to make sure, all right, we're going to keep up with this stupid Kobe farewell tour, and you still have to appease that situation. But you have to make sure the kids are growing. And if that happens, that's something that's way more productive than the current season is going, under Byron Scott. And that's where the frustration kicks in for me. It's like if I walk in, I tweeted this out, but if I go to a doctor and I'm there for just a physical and all of a sudden I'm flatlining and the doctor can't figure out what's happening, right? Because you go for
they're gonna look at the nurse with the knife in your back.
I'm gonna, well, if something disastrous happens in a physical that I have no expectations for anyway, because expectations weren't even that high with this team, right? So if I walk into a doctor's office with zero expectations and then all of a sudden just start dying and the doctor just stands there with his hands on his hips and says, I don't know what's happening, bud, sorry. Like, I'm just as frustrated with you in this situation. I'd freak the hell out. That wouldn't help me. Why would I feel better about that situation? So man, the entire organization just time and time again proves to be more frustrating than it should be. And tonight's game, I think we're reaching a boiling point.
This season was supposed to be fun. This was actually supposed to be the fun season. It's just
and it wasn't even like fun while they make the playoffs. That their
it was
over under
was fun while you watch the future of the team.
Yeah, it was their over under was set at 29.5. A 30-win season would have been hitting expectations, and they're going to fall short of half of that. They're gonna fall short by half of that win total, and it's okay though, guys. The Lakers are just as frustrated as you. Thanks, Lakers. I feel so much better while I flatline during a damn physical.
Their losing streak right now is long. They have more games on this losing streak than they do wins this season. It's incredible.
Yeah, and they've had four win streaks or losing streaks of at least 7 games this year.
Makes sense to me. I don't know the exact stat, but that I buy it.
I think I heard that stat earlier this season. This is their 4th losing streak of at least 7 games. They've played how many games? 40.
They have played 50 games now.
All right, 50.
32 left, people. Hang with us. We got 32 left.
Oh man, but it's. I mean,
and these games for dedicated Lakers fans, these games should be. And they haven't turned out this way, but they should have been must-see television. It was you were watching the young future of the Lakers grow together. It was going to be Kobe's farewell season, and it just hasn't turned out that way because of the just complete gross and utter mismanagement of the roster.
Right. Well, it was like I bring it back to, or I take it back to Summer League, right? Where sure they should have played better at Summer League. And
going into Summer League, I think the consensus was they were the most talented team there.
Right. But and even though they fell short of their, what was the hashtag Summer League champions was the hashtag heading into it, right? All right, they fell way short of that, but I walked away from the Summer League thinking, hey, at least I got to see the rookies play. At least I got to see, and there was, some growth being, taking place over the course of those games. I continue to fall back on, the situation. When I'm watching DeAngelo Russell play tonight, if I watched, if you asked me, hey, was this the 50th game of the season or the first game of the season, would you have been able to tell the difference between the two?
I would not. No, what's fun? The guys, I guess if you really want to psychoanalyze, they look more defeated at this point. It just looks like they're going through the motion. DeAngelo Russell, since Byron Scott called him out for being too confident, has been just a train wreck. I think it's been 3 games where he just doesn't look like he's really trying to do anything. He just brings the ball up the floor. He gives it to initiates the offense and runs to the corner. It seems like most of the time. He's had a couple plays, but it's just,
Well, Byron, after complaining that DeAngelo Russell was playing with too much confidence, tonight says that there's not enough confidence in the locker room.
And it would be one thing if he had said that like 15 games ago. He said it 3 games ago. There's not enough. It turns out that confidence was not the issue, and that's my bad. Except for I don't know if he's ever said my bad.
Unbelievable. That's like serving mud for dinner and then wondering why everybody was hungry after the fact. That's weird. I can't believe nobody ate my food.
Eating mud might only marginally make this team a little bit worse if they went on a mud diet for a day before a game.
Speaking of eating mud, we had to watch Robert Sacre play basketball again tonight. And Tarik Black
was inactive for some reason. You got to throw Sacre in there.
Completely inactive, Tarik Black, who from the times that I've watched him on the court, and this is me being not that huge of a Tarik Black guy, right? It's more comparatively speaking that we're impressed by.
Yeah, no, I don't think any of us think Tarik Black is some MVP candidate. I think that's the misconception with some of the people that get angry when we say stuff like this. No one thinks he's going to go out there and change the team's fortunes drastically and they're going to all of a sudden reach that 30-win total. No, of course not. But his strengths could help the team.
Right. Well, they fit.
Yeah.
What he's good at fits what DeAngelo Russell wants to do with the basketball. Even though DeAngelo Russell is not allowed to do it with too much confidence, but then also he needs to have confidence, right?
We were talking about Russell's confidence and usage and everything. So for the season, Russell ranks second on the team in usage rate at 23.5, behind only Kobe at 29.9. Over the last 3 games, since Byron Scott called him out for having too much confidence and trying too hard to take over, Kobe is at 34.5%. Clarkson's at 24.5%. Ryan Kelly's at 30.1%, which normally I would rule out, but he's actually playing 11 minutes a game. So that's a somewhat significant number over this small of a sample size. Randall, 23.8. DeAngelo Russell is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's 10th on the team in usage rate over the last 3 games. Oh no! Actually, I got a rule. There's some minutes stuff going on here. Huertas and Black are ahead of him in very limited minutes, but it's really bad. He's at 19.1%.
It's unbelievable. It's just and I had the last show that we had. The Lakers play the Clippers, and the Clippers announcers were befuddled as to why DeAngelo Russell isn't playing more and isn't getting more opportunities with the basketball. And from an outside perspective, it makes no sense. It makes even less sense from our perspective, where we have to watch every single one of these damn games. And it was a season that didn't have to, nothing magical needed to happen to meet expectations. It was just let the kids grow. Let's have some fun in the process. And then let's get to next season after Kobe's retired. Right. But we're just trudging along, and every single game feels like this chore of, oh man, we got to watch this again. And it, in my opinion, falls almost completely on the coaching staff. Whether it's Byron, whether it's the entire coaching staff, whatever, it's been a complete and utter failure from those guys' perspective. Did you have anything to add on the Tarik Black, Robert Sacre, or whoever is playing over Tarik Black? Do you think we will see?
Like, we can go down the list. Ryan Kelly should not be playing over Tarik Black at this point. Robert Sacre should not be playing over Tarik Black at this point. You can make an argument that maybe Roy Hibbert shouldn't be playing over Tarik Black at this point, and Brandon Bass as well. It's just his skill set fits with what the team wants to do so much better. And he actually, that's the thing that I don't get. You almost have to assume, and you hate to speculate like this, but that there's something going on outside of his play that him and Byron Scott are not personally getting along. Because there's no reason, after how well he played last season, especially relative to expectations, that he should not be getting any significant burn. You watch him with the defenders. Last night he had 15 and 14 for the defenders, and while that's a lower level of play, he's doing the same things that he can help the Lakers with. He rebounds like a madman, and he like runs a solid pit. He sets solid screens and rolls to the basket and can catch a pass. That's all they really need.
Look, I don't know what you're talking about. The Lakers got out-rebounded 59-42 tonight. They do not need more rebounders on this team.
It's almost like Roy Hibbert and Ryan Kelly aren't good rebounders.
Weird. It was, I mean, it got to a point tonight where I was watching them try to rebound the ball, and they were all stuck in mud while they were trying to do it.
Tarik Black has the highest rebound percentage on the team in the over the minute. He's only averaging 10.8 minutes a game over 15 games, but while he's on the floor, he's rebounding 21.1% of available misses. The next closest is Randall at 19.4, and then Ryan Kelly at 15. So I apologize, Ryan Kelly. He's so significant. Roy Hibbert is 11.2.
Oh man. Oh, this team.
He gets more than double the percentage of available rebounds that Roy Hibbert does.
Beyond speculation, because I thought Byron Scott had a very telling I thought he had a very telling quote earlier this year where he said coaches who get, or who listen to the fans on how to coach their team tend to sit right next to them, to those fans shortly thereafter. It's paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. And I've almost reached the point where I wonder if somebody is brought up, if somebody is popular among the fans, that Byron uses that as spite to not play somebody, right? And if he were to, anytime he goes on Twitter, Tarik Black's name is almost always coming up as somebody who should be playing more. And
they have to know.
Yeah. And well, he said
he's become a cult favorite. You talk to people around the defenders, and they know that Robert Upshaw has become a cult classic, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just
they're aware of the social media stuff that's said about them. Every athlete and coach and everything says that they aren't aware of that stuff, but they're aware of it.
Well, Byron says he has a secret Twitter account out there that, I guarantee you is an egg Avi. I can almost guarantee that, or it's either an egg or a dog Avi that he's rocking out there. I don't know. I try, and this is a part, like I've been getting this a lot lately, especially after I wrote the article about Byron, is that I somehow am not as big a fan of the Lakers because, I'm critical of the team, and that I'm not alone. That for Tom Fear from the site, same thing. When you're critical of the team, somehow we are less of fans.
Oh no, I don't get called a bad fan. I get called a bad journalist now. I'm moving on up.
Ooh,
I have people calling out my journalistic credentials. I'm not even kidding either. I think it's funny, but I'm not kidding.
I want people to question my journalistic credibility.
I had someone say that my writing made them miss Hunter S. Thompson, which was possibly the greatest comment I've ever gotten below an article ever.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is that, look, you're not allowed to question somebody who watches all these games, comes on and talks about these games after the fact, and pays way too much attention to this team. Because of, we don't blog for the money. I can guarantee you that. Nobody out there is blogging for the money. You're blogging out there because you're passionate about the sport and you're passionate about the team that you're writing about. That's how this stuff works. And when I go on a Twitter rant, or when I write an article, or when you go on a Twitter rant, or you write an article about this team, it's not coming from a perspective of, woe is me, that, I can't believe I'm rooting for such a terrible team. It's what could possibly be said that changes the narrative or pushes the narrative so much in the direction of change that we have to find that out. And
everyone's allowed to have a different opinion, but right. that means that people are allowed to disagree with us, but we're going to write and analyze things as we feel that we're seeing them.
Well, and the thing here is, I don't want to reach a point where I'm just resigned to the fact that no change will happen, because then what's the point in even watching? What's the point in paying attention? If what you're watching is almost guaranteed not to improve, then why watch? Why waste time? And that's what the Lakers should seriously be concerned about. The longer Byron Scott is employed, the more fans get to think to themselves, look, these guys are perfectly fine with being this bad. The last thing I heard getting out of my car before I came here and started recording this podcast was the premier brand in the NBA, in the National Basketball Association. Your brand is bull. You can't call yourself the top brand in the NBA when there's a legitimate chance you might have
second highest valued franchise according to Forbes. Count the 2.7 billion.
Well, that's fine, sure, but the increases have stopped, right? The annual increases have slowed considerably. Meanwhile, the Golden State Warriors brand jumped like $1 billion this year. Over the last couple of years, they've jumped almost 100% of what they were previously worth. And, the Buss family has to start to wonder, like I'm at that point. I remember when Dr. Jerry Buss died. I sat there, it was dusty it was during his memorial, and people were waxing poetic about how we need the Buss families to keep the Lakers, and please don't sell. I remember Magic Johnson looking directly at Jim and Jeanie Buss and saying, please guys, never sell this team. And I remember I felt just the same way, that it was a sense of pride that it was basically a mom and pop shop that became $1 billion organization. But now I'm at that point where it's like, please sell to somebody who is either competent or committed to winning. And I'm not sure either is the case with these Lakers. I don't know. I don't know if they're so focused on or so blinded by previous successes that they've lost sight of what it takes to be successful in this industry. That went on a tangent. That just happened.
Hey, I mean, the games have been so bad that I think that this entire losing streak, and possibly before, I don't know that we've spent more than 5 minutes on these podcasts these post-game podcasts talking about the actual game. It's talking about the state of the franchise, because it's burning down right now.
Well, how do you focus on a game that they lost by 30 to a team that shot?
It's like James Worthy said right when he went on. He goes on camera. He starts basically by reading off of his iPad the stat sheet. Shout out to Dwight Howard, and then he just goes, you know what? I don't even know how to analyze these games anymore. And it was the best point that he made all night. He should have just stopped there before starting to call out the team's effort and saying that the coaching staff was giving them every tool that they need to win, non-ironically.
Yeah. I just and there again you have a former Laker completely blinded by his being surrounded or being immersed in this Lakers, crap.
It's also, he's part of the coaching staff, and one of his good friends is the head coach. I think that makes it kind of hard to be a little bit unbiased, and we know that they're unbiased. They talk openly about that they're fans of the team. They want them to do well, but I think that there's a point where it's almost embarrassing if you're just overlooking this giant facet of why the Lakers are not good. The roster is not good. So yeah, I mean, the players are not faultless, but it's also a very young team. The veterans aren't that great either. It's not a great roster. So again, like that's not faultless, but the coaching staff is also not blameless in this.
Right. That's where we are.
It's become a cliche. Everyone's saying it, but Mike D'Antoni would be a far, far better fit for this team. It's almost funny how much better of a fit for this team he would be.
Well, what's really funny is when you hear national people talk about this, they try to act like they're the first people who have made this point.
It's like this mind-blowing, like, we've been talking about it since summer league.
We said it from the minute
like
Byron
when
was
Russell
hired.
got drafted.
Yeah, as soon as Byron was hired, man, I really wish we kept Mike D'Antoni. All right, that's enough on. Like you said, we didn't really focus on the game much, but really, what did you want us to talk about with the game? Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was back. I'm really happy that he's healthy again. Jeremy Lin was back in LA, and I heard some boos. I don't know if there was just coinciding.
No, apparently there was raucous cheers when he got introduced.
Oh, never mind then. So that's good. I mean,
Hey, I guess good for him.
No, he deserves it. I thought he was a professional in his time in Los Angeles, and and he
Yeah,
deserves.
he played his ass off last year.
Yeah. So, all right.
He almost derailed the tank at the end there for that last stretch. I remember.
Yeah, and honestly, he'd be a good fit for this team. I'd much rather have him over Marcelo Huertas. But
that's not an apples to apples comparison, but yeah.
Fair point. Oh, he'd totally be starting over everybody though. So I guess that's something that should be mentioned. We'd be watching like Jeremy Lin.
I would want it just to see if Byron Scott disliked Lin or DeAngelo Russell more. Just like after every game, whichever one he started, that's the one that he blamed and put in his doghouse afterwards.
I could see Byron carrying a pillow so that when either Lin or DeAngelo Russell is subbed out of a game, he just lob a pillow at him. You've been soft. Next game the Lakers play is Tuesday. They play Minnesota. If they don't win one of their next couple games, this losing streak could become somewhat obnoxious. So,
he stands alone in franchise history. Or they stand alone in franchise history if they lose this next one.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I kind of somewhat hope that Byron does take up that honor. The Lakers again fall tonight, 101-82. They are 9-41 on the season. They fall to the Hornets, who are 23-25 this year without Nicholas Batum, who many are hoping might be a Laker next year. Do you want to talk at all about the Stephen A. Smith stuff, or just?
I don't feel like we need to dignify it with a talking point, really, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening tonight. We will be back at it again, like I said, on Tuesday. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We've tried to keep it. Tonight was a little bit more negative. Not enough laughing.
Whatever that is. Yeah, we've tried to keep it positive, but tonight was bad.
It's okay though.
There's not really any good to take away from tonight, other than I guess if you want to get excited that Kobe was an effective NBA player in one game, that they lost by 20. I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah, way to go, Kobe. We will try to. Minnesota should be a fun game. It's a little better matchup for everybody involved. No, you never know with this team. All right, Harrison, we will talk to you again on Tuesday.
All right, thanks, Anthony.